Welcome back. This is After the Ashes, the beautiful Altadena podcast on the LA fire recovery through a policy lens. I just gave Steve shit in the last episode for fucking up that intro, and I just proceeded to butcher it. So, mazel tov. It's Shawna.
By the way, I didn't say a word. I just watched that whole
He just watched
process.
it all unfold with the most amazing look on his face. These are the days I really wish that we were recording this and doing it video live because it would be the body language and the facial expressions alone would be worth tuning in for the comedy.
Yeah.
So here we are. It's season 2, episode 6. We're recording this on January 20th. It's a Tuesday, and we're going to open this episode.
It's the first anniversary of the inauguration.
Oh my gosh. Wow, what a dubious date.
Indeed. I just know because I'm seeing all over the political coverage
Blech.
today.
You can't see me making my vomit
1 year
face.
later,
Blech.
what has Trump done? Dun, dun, dun.
He's
I know he's
yeah.
fucked up a lot of stuff.
I mean, it's impressive actually. He's done a lot of fuckery.
Wow.
But we knew that there would be a lot of fuckery because they came in so well prepared for this, thanks to Thiel and all of his ilk with Project 2025.
Peter Thiel did that?
It was in part.
I thought it was Russell Vought. But
They're all up in there.
Yeah.
But
It's the Heritage
they
Foundation.
came here. It's exactly the Heritage Foundation. They all came here with a plan. I know everyone's always like Trump, 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 but it's like Trump. He's a puppet, and when he falls,
well,
they'll
don't tell him that.
They'll find another puppet and another puppet, and that's what makes this so scary. It's a cancer that reaches really far, and I don't know how we clean it up, but
So for those of you that think that Sean is a Trumpy, I hope that answers that question.
yeah, seriously. It's like with what's happening, and I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but with ICE in Minnesota, actually, I will just, land that with like, one of my favorite memes of the week was like, who thought the revolution would start in Minneapolis? ... Prince. Prince thought the revolution would start in Minneapolis. I loved
Speaking of
that.
the 80s.
I loved it. But,
Purple Rain.
But yeah, it's beyond disturbing what's going on. There's word that they are planning to bring that level of operation back here to us in Los Angeles, which is going to turn this town into a war zone, which is terrifying. And it dovetails again into what's happening here because, even last week or a couple weeks ago during the week of the 1-year anniversary of the fire, there were ICE teams raiding rebuild sites in Altadena. Not to mention arresting people in Pasadena, including someone related to Endilon. It's really disturbing. And on one hand, I think we are so overwhelmed with what's happening here. It's hard to really keep a handle on what's happening on a national level and be fighting and protesting at the levels that I think many of us in our community normally would and would like to be. But at the same time, it's like it's here. It's on our doorstep. It can't be ignored. It's just another layer of trauma on trauma, horror on horror.
So,
on that cheery note, let's start with our media roundup. And
you mean continue our media roundup?
I know we are kind of continuing because there was so much to talk about from media stories that we were like, we can't even jam it into just one episode to do it into a couple. But another story this week came from The Guardian. And it was a story on climate gentrification. That's how they termed it, was climate gentrification. And Steve was quick to point out that expression, climate gentrification, has been used in the past.
Hang on. It was in the spring because it was the Wall Street Journal because I wrote about it. And that was one of my posts that actually got a lot of people who actually forwarded it because they were like, oh, this is a good one.
It is a good one. I mean, it's sadly what's happening.
If you say climate gentrification, that's when everybody...
I know.
It was June 20th because it was examples of the future for Altadena. Yeah.
And what publication was that?
The Wall Street Journal. Because it talked about the effects in Panama City and in Paradise, but that climate gentrification was occurring. And that was the first time I saw those words used. I'm sure that's not the first time, but
yeah.
But then to see The Guardian picking it up on the other end of the political spectrum and talking about a problem of lots being sold. I mean, unfortunately, they did it the shocking way, which wasn't fair, which is the house could have been sold for X, but now, it's Y, right?
Right.
Like it was.
Well, I think so. For anyone who didn't,
the LA Times did this at the beginning.
For anyone who didn't read the story or hasn't followed, this concept, it's being called here climate gentrification, but it's been talked about in many ways, without that necessarily being attached to that terminology. And what this is effectively, people who now have to sell or have chosen to sell for various reasons, and the fact that they're having to sell for significantly diminished value of the property. And, the thing for anyone who thinks, wow, didn't we talk about this issue? Didn't we maybe propose? Didn't you maybe write something that would have solved this issue?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I, immediately when I read this, I was like, cool. So we could have solved this with Harabedian's AB 797.
Yeah.
That quite literally, the Community Stabilization Act, that was quite literally
That
written
was the whole purpose of it.
to solve this problem and to not be faced with climate
selling below,
gentrification,
well,
which
at
is
least if you have to sell, that you're not having to sell
below market.
value. Because the secondary part of that is that basically there was no preservation of the value of the land.
Yep.
Again, you can't, at the time when we wrote 797, it was either going to be, some kind of mass tort, or it was going to be, insurance. And you can't, there is a definite moral hazard that you have to be careful of. If you choose not to have insurance, that's a risk that you take, which now is a little bit more deep because insurance is a mess in this state now.
Right.
But there were a lot of people that chose not to have insurance on their house because they didn't want to pay the cost of it. And of course, that's, and for those of you that don't have earthquake insurance, guess what? The same kind of thing is going to happen. It's a choice that you make, and to be bailed out by the government, I don't think is necessarily going to happen. So, but this story was that there was the structure, which is the $1 million land value, and then, the land underneath it. And it was, at least with the land, that was something that we could have done something with. That was not a moral hazard. And so that's why 797 was put in place. But as you rightfully pointed out, we don't have those tools, and now we're getting another piece, easily going that way. So
well, right, and it's the thing I'd said with that was not just okay, now it's gone, but also now what? What's
the other thing,
like,
that
where
was,
are the tools and solutions? Like, if the governor is going to veto
he
this,
didn't give a fuck.
Right, he didn't give a fuck. But like, if you're going to veto that, then great. Then what? Where are the solutions? Where are they? Because we keep, again, we have, and I'm sorry, I'm going to throw our state senator under the bus on this one again, or call her out again, but I am, because she is one of the people who did not support this bill.
Well, she
so
said
please
she
stop
did.
telling me.
She said she did.
Right, but please stop with all of the performative antics that everybody cares. But when when the shit hits the fan, when it comes time to actually vote in a way, or to present, and support legislation in a way that will meaningfully support and help our community, it's crickets. Where is everybody?
Because this bill was complicated. The other thing that was great about this bill was it was going to have, again, to the gentrification component, we were going to have a community ownership over the land. It was going to be, not some developer coming in and taking it over. It was, this was going to be a nonprofit that was going to be or multiple nonprofits accountable to the communities in which they serve, have to have, what we would call, representation on the board from various people within the community. There were a lot of guardrails put into this to ensure that there wasn't going to be necessarily the gentrification 100%. I mean, you can't stop what's going to happen, but it was at least a way to give people the dignity to leave with a reasonable value for their home, or at least be able to have a bid on their house, and allow, some kind of community say over what was going to happen with the land once it got into this trust.
Yep.
But alas, can't cry over spilled milk.
No, but we can cry over, a demand to have some other solutions, other meaningful tools. Where are they?
There aren't, because this was the answer. There is no other answer.
It's maddening.
Well, like I told you, watch. Within the next 90 to 120 days, it won't surprise me if we see lipstick put on a pig. In fact, I already know the county is talking about some solutions that will be potentially like interest-free loans and a shared equity model. And where did you hear all that from?
Yep.
I mean, like, they're just going to take these ideas and repackage them and, put them out in different ways, but it'll get there.
Well, let's hope it gets there, and before it's too late, before, what's left of our community is forced out.
Well, another issue.
I know.
Speaking of that, we see the lawsuits flying all over the place.
So yes, the other headline that blew up was that SCE is suing everyone. So this was covered by multiple outlets, obviously, but the bottom line was, let's read the Times headline: Edison sues LA County and other agencies, saying they share blame for Eaton fire deaths and destruction. So, I saw a lot of upset around this of like, oh my gosh, they're trying to get out of the settlements. It's going to delay us. We're never going to see money for a decade. And I was like, okay, everybody get off the ledge. So here's what happened and what was happening. Last Friday was the deadline for Edison to name additional defendants. So effectively, if you've been following all this, you already know that Edison, SCE, SoCal Edison, who allegedly all signs point to was the source of this fire, the Eaton fire here in Altadena, that, sorry, I made the mistake of looking at all my notes and then my brain went like, woo.
Yes.
They are being sued by quite literally everyone. All right. LA County is suing them. City of Sierra Madre, City of Pasadena, Pasadena Unified School District, State Farm Insurance, right? You name it. Everybody's suing them. Like, if you did this and you've cost us this money, we all want our pound of flesh. We all want our money too. And, all of us, the fire survivors, the real victims here who continue to be the only ones not getting rich through this disaster economy that's booming are like, hey, get in line behind all of us. All right. If you want your pound, great. Well, we'll be exhausting that $22 billion fund before you get your paws on it. Take care of yourselves. So
don't be so sure, but anyway.
I know, but that's how it should be, right?
I know how it should be, but
it's how it should
know
be.
Who you're dealing with here.
Well, you and I both know who we're dealing with. I would be surprised if the county's right at the top, taking everything off.
Is Edison arguing that the state should have been more active in its governance and oversight over its maintenance of the wires?
I'm not going to speak to that because I don't know. I didn't read the full filing.
I mean, that would be hilarious if they said
it would
that.
Be. We should dig into the filing and find out. That would be a good use of AI. Ask the AI to read through to troll the filing and see if it can find that in there, because I'd be very curious to know if that is in there. But the bottom line was that they have everyone suing them.
Yeah.
And they're going to have tremendous exposure that they're concerned with, and for anyone who doesn't pay attention, this is how it works. We get the $22 billion fire fund, wildfire insurance fund. That largely should cover it, hopefully, all of the residents' lawsuits, of which there are now thousands. Like my mass tort alone, my beautiful Altadena mass tort alone is 1,000 neighbors on just that. So you can imagine how many people, as far as individuals, are suing because, they kind of burned our whole town down and left us holding the bag.
Yeah, I haven't even filed yet. I know.
You should. That's another conversation.
I know.
You need to.
I know.
And I'm going to share this because I'm realizing more and more that people don't realize this. Every individual in your household is entitled to their own claim, their own settlement, and their own individual payment. And that is not just you and your wife, Steve. That's the kids too. So, and I hope that, not just you, but everyone needs to know that. Everyone in your household, if you're a household, of 5, if you've got two parents and 3 kids, each one of you has your own individual claim with its own individual merits and its own individual monies. And I've had this conversation with a few people in the community who are like, well, we didn't lose that much or this or that. And we feel like, we don't want to be greedy or we don't want to get in line. It's like, no. Every one of us who lived up there had a loss and deserves to be compensated, full stop. And if you think that it wasn't you or you don't need this, I would say think about your kids and the fact that God knows what's going to come up for your children down the line because of this, be it the trauma, the physical exposures to who knows what. There are so many things, right? Think of it like that and ensure that your kids get signed up and that they have claims handled by competent lawyers that really understand this space. And I'll say again, the ones that aren't advertising all over town, those are the ones you want, the ones who are not advertising all over town. And get some great, representation because...
Oh, it's Southern California Gas, probably because they didn't shut off.
Oh, yeah, gas. That's exactly what it is. We're going to get into that. So That is that. We'll wrap that up. But for sure, everybody is entitled. Everyone should file a claim. Everybody with find a great attorney, get, some great feedback on what the merits are for their specific situation in their case, and get filed sooner than later, because the longer you wait, bluntly, it's not that it's going to be too late. The statute on this goes out for years. We've still got 2 more years on the statute of limitations to file. However, there is some precedent that, they could run out. You could be at the back of the line. You don't want to be at the back of the line. So get on that. That said, to go back to this, what it is that the folks at SCE, are on the hook. So they've got the $22 billion fund. They've also got, up to $4 billion that they're responsible for out of their own pocket, out of their,
How much?
$4 billion.
I thought, but it's only one out of pocket.
Correct.
The remainder is
That's right.
covered by insurance.
Exactly. If it's covered, it may not be fully covered. And outside of that, it would be exposure for them. So they're already, and this was already in their shareholder report last year. This is when we knew that they had effectively admitted fault, where they said, well, it looks like it's us and we're going to have some exposure, as they were worried about profits.
So here's the thing, though.
Which, by the way, these guys make billions of dollars a quarter in profits.
All right. Well, that we're not going to, their business. But what's interesting about this from a legal perspective is the gas piece, because I think Edison can probably.
Well, I think you need to state. So what Edison did on Friday was name additional defendants. So their position is, hey, we may have started this fire. I have a Bruce Springsteen song in my head.
No, it's Billy Joel.
Oh, it's Billy Joel. I don't. Sorry, I'm not. My Americana rock is not my strong suit. But the song is now in my head. I won't sing it. I'll spare everybody. But I'm sure it's now stuck in your heads too, because you know exactly what I'm talking about. We didn't start the fire. Anyhow.
It was always burning.
Their attitude, Steve's going to sing for us. No. Their attitude is, hey, we started the fire, but y'all blew it. People died because you didn't, issue evacuation alerts or execute an evacuation plan.
Yes.
You couldn't put out a fire because you didn't have water.
Yes. And you didn't oversee those water companies.
We're going to talk about the water companies today.
Turn off the gas.
So CalGas didn't turn off the gas and let gas fires rage. And that's real and that's true. We've been talking about that a lot. It happened to my friends.
Turned off, but we didn't.
Correct.
Okay.
That did happen. So, their thing is like, well, hey, we're on the hook. Y'all should be on the hook too, because they're
not wrong.
They're not wrong. And I know some are saying, oh, great, maybe through subpoena and discovery, maybe we'll actually get answers about what happened here and who blew it. Finally, maybe this is how we get a report, because otherwise none of these agencies are interested in investigating themselves. But yes, it was some of the many that they listed as additional defendants are LA County, all of our little water mutuals, LA County Fire Department, the Offices of Emergency Management, OEM, so CalGas.
Are they doing the state or just the city?
It looks like it was all county city. I didn't see anything.
Just the county.
And I believe City of Pasadena. Yes, they are suing City of Pasadena too. So it was like, hey, you want to go there? We're going to go there. So for the listener who's like, oh my gosh, what is this going to do to our case? I'm not a lawyer. I don't offer legal advice. And my advice is that you got to talk to your attorney. That said, we do hear from a lot of attorneys working on these cases for obvious reasons. And the general consensus is that they have to now do what they have to sever our claims from this so that those things remain separate. But everyone's expectation is that the trial date set by the judge of January 2027 for the early cases, and the early cases will be the first heard will be people who have serious needs. So those who are, people who may die before settlement comes, bluntly. Those are still expected to be heard in January, and there is an expectation that all of our settlements will follow in 2027 after that. So, if people are spooked by this, don't be. This is a war that's going to be waged between all of these agencies and entities for some time, but it should not impact our settlements, even if it does mean more work for all of our attorneys.
Well, what likely happen is that the money will go out of the fund, and then SCE is probably going to sue for recovery from the money, but it doesn't.
It's a giant shell game of the money going back and forth, like State Farm suing them for the money, but then they're going to get it from some. It's absurd.
But
And I'm going to,
where would the money go in this case? Would
Right?
SCE get the money? Would it go back to its insurance company? Would it
I
be
don't
part of
know.
that $4 billion?
I don't know.
I mean, goddamn.
What I would imagine and what it sounds like is that they are just trying to limit their exposure for their shareholders.
Well, I mean, that's their job.
That's it. It's their job, exactly. Because they are a private for-profit entity.
Indeed.
Yep. They don't work for us.
Nope.
They work for themselves
So,
and their
speaking of-
shareholders. So,
Speaking of that, do we want to talk about the latest?
let's.
So, someone who has had a presence here in Altadena recently, in the last 6
Yep.
months or so, trying to
Via Steadfast LA.
yes, trying to ensure that we are favorably predisposed to any candidacy that he might have had, has decided to bail.
Yep.
And 2 weeks ago it was, I will be making a decision. It will be, I'm running for an office. And he was leaning toward governor, and now nothing.
He's out. So for
altogether.
anyone who doesn't know who we're talking about everyone's favorite mall developer, Rick Caruso.
So now, because he can, have more freedom to develop,
Build
no
fancy malls.
What was
Big
interesting,
fountains.
when the LA Times was writing about this story, because it was LA Times and Politico, I read it on. The LA Times piece talked about how Caruso was only redeveloping in the Palisades. It did not mention his efforts out here.
I think
So
he's
does that
tried
mean
to
he's-
divorce himself of here as we have other people that have
is
been
he
appointed.
stepping
Like we
out?
got, like we have, the symbolic Magic Johnson piece, which always baffles me as to why he's the symbolic face of
Yeah.
it. Well, I think I know the answer, but
it's
anyhow,
magic.
It's
got that
I mean, listen, I love Magic Johnson as
1,000-watt
much as the
smile.
next guy. Exactly. Who doesn't love him? But
I mean,
I'm not sure what he has to do with rebuilding our town.
He's Sparty. Go blue.
Okay.
It's a Michigan thing.
It's totally over my head. I'm over here like, I don't know what the
He
fuck
went to
Steve's talking
Michigan
about.
State. Michigan State is is the Spartans.
Okay.
Michigan is
I'll take your word for it.
anyway.
So, Steve, you wrote a great Substack about this. I loved it. It was the hot potato Substack.
Yeah.
The governorship, this gubernatorial race is the hot potato because as
Nobody
everyone
wants
keeps
it.
dropping out.
I mean, it doesn't make sense because you hear about this vaunted vision of
We're the greatest state in the nation.
we are leading the resistance to Trump. Everybody should be looking to California to want to be California.
We're a beacon. We're the 5th largest economy in the world.
We were 4th.
Oh, that's
yet-
right. We're 4th.
Well, I think we're 5th now. I think India overtakes us. But I think it's that, don't let your lying eyes deceive you. Kind of like the whole homeless thing, right? Like, what's really happening here? If California was such a no-brainer, look, there are, I think, upwards of 5 senators that are leaving the Senate to go back and be governors, or running for governor. And Alex Padilla decided to stay in the Senate. And, I remember talking to a candidate he was going for vice president. He wasn't on the list. He didn't make it. Tim Walz got it. But this candidate will be running for president. And they mentioned to me that there's no better job than being a governor unless you want to be president, because, there's 50 governors and you are the king of your territory, so to speak. You might not be, the president. There's only one. But when you're one of 100 in the Senate, which is the most exclusive club in the world, that's why a lot of people like to be governor, because you don't have to compromise as much. You don't have to play the game the way, the seniority stuff doesn't work. And that's sort of surprising why our senior senator decided to pass on that. And then you had our attorney general pass on it, but I think I know why. I think you know why. I
Yep.
think Oakland comes back, and I don't think he wants that.
Nope.
I think Caruso.
Too many skeletons in that closet.
Yeah, I think AG is about as good as it gets, and nobody's going to bother him.
Except for us,
Well,
the Altadena for Accountability folks. We are definitely bothering him and plan to continue to bother him.
yeah, well, keep doing that.
We are.
I think the third one was Kamala Harris, and there was a nice piece in Politico this morning about how she's trying to resurrect her career, and obviously she probably, they had a quote in there from our former governor, Gray Davis, who said, basically, when you're used to being with kings and queens and prime ministers and presidents, being governor is kind of a step down, which is true.
Yeah.
But it would have been a layup for her and would have put her in a position where she would have had a pretty good bully pulpit to be in a position to decide if she really wanted to continue in politics or not. Politico had the piece that went into where she is in her career and how she wants to resurrect it. It sounds like to be making another run for president. And now Caruso. So what do we have left? We've got a billionaire that changes his stripes. He's no longer a climate hawk. He's now about affordability and, social justice, hiring Mandami's group. You've got Antonio Virgosa, who sadly reminds me a lot of John McCain, where, when he ran, he was 8 years too late. He should have beaten Bush in 2000. You've got Tony Thurmond, who is our superintendent of education. Do we need to talk about education? I think I mentioned some stats. That one was another one that was really interesting. I got stuck I went down a rabbit hole with the state of Mississippi, which has about 1 million people less than our state, and their entire state budget is $7 billion. City of Los Angeles, 1 million people less than the city of Los Angeles. City of Los Angeles has a budget of $14 billion, and that doesn't even include the health side of it because that's covered by the county. And I said, okay, fine, Mississippi's 50th out of 50th and everything is what they like to say back east. But their education is 39th and we're 31st, and we spend how much? And I just
exactly.
I kind of went, okay, so Tony Thurmond, I'm not so sure. I don't know where that one goes. Katie Porter, she's one outburst away from probably being out of it. Xavier Becerra, I've been told, is the most competent from a policy side, but just doesn't excite anybody. Betty Yee, I've seen her speak, and she's an accountant.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not her forte.
She's an accountant. She's a controller. Who is it? Now the rumor mill, the hot stove, because there's nobody really kind of moving away, is Matt Mahon from San Jose.
I don't even know who that is.
He's the mayor of San Jose.
We have, of course, the Republican guy that I met.
Which one? Steve Hilton?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then there's Chad Bianco, who got quoted talking about taking politicians that allow people to live here illegally or sanctuary cities and taking them out back and beating them like it's the 60s, 70s, or 80s. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? That's scary. I know what he's trying to get at, and I know what the dog whistle is, but it's stupid and doesn't work. It's not California in 2025. So, Steve, the play here for the Democrats, honestly, Shawna, is that they're going to do whatever they can to talk up Steve Hilton and let Steve Hilton win the primary. He'll win like 20, 25% of the vote. And it'll be him and whoever rises among the rest of them, if you will, the leftovers, and see who they just want one. The worst thing that can happen to the Democrats right now is that two of them get through.
Yeah, because then they're just going to eat each other, and we know how that
well, but
and
it would be really healthy.
No, but they split the vote, and then
It'd
we see
be
how
really
it goes.
healthy for our state.
Yeah.
This allowing the Republicans to like play spoiler is not. And the stupidity, I get why the Republicans have to do it, but it's so dumb because they are never going to win. Like it makes no sense to me why don't they try to be more, strategic in how they do it? That's what I don't get. But
it is an ongoing question. I don't know how we didn't talk about it much, but I find it interesting that Villaraigosa is back, right? Like he's been gone all this time doing who knows what. Then surprise! I'm back. I'm running for governor.
That guy's amazing in that respect. And what
he is. I'm not a hater. Listen, he's done some things that I took issue with, but he's also did a lot of things that were positive that I praise. And
so what I've been told about Villaraigosa,
I'm not opposed to him. Who knows? I might end up voting for him at the way things are going.
He wants it with every ounce in his body. He wants this job more than anything else in the world. And you know what? It'd be nice to have somebody who actually feels that way, because we don't have that here. And, he's 78. So to me, the intriguing thing for Antonio, if he were to run, is to do it as a one-termer
Yeah.
and be that Moses and kind of take that role of, I'm here to deliver California, but it's going to be for the next generation. And I've said this before, surround himself with young, energetic policy people who could become the next gen, and kind of be that transitory figure that we need and help address some of the, because, in all honesty, he's a centrist.
Yep.
And that's quite frankly what California needs.
I agree. I think
Hey,
it's what the whole
Antonio,
country
I'm
needs.
looking for a job if you're interested.
Same. I actually, oh my gosh, I'll never forget him coming to, well, there's a few things I won't forget that I won't talk about on this podcast because I actually like him. But there is the one that jumps to mind is when I had the LA Food Fest at the Rose Bowl. It's like he had just had that cycling accident. He had broken his arm cycling, and he was supposed to come and join us as a judge. And I'll never forget, he showed up. He was like, I'm on pain meds and not drinking, but I'm here. I'm in it. And he was like, all in his cast. And anyhow, I have some great photos actually of him and I from that event. It was a really fun year, the Rose Bowl, but doing the LA Food Fest. But yeah, that stuck with me because so many other electeds would have just bailed. I mean, there's no way they would have showed up after that, something like that, and would have had a good reason not to. But he was like, nope, I said I was going to be here, and I'm here.
Well, and I think that's, right now, we need somebody who wants to be present.
Correct.
So anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not endorsing anyone, but I'm also saying that,
nor me, not yet.
The group, certainly that's the most intriguing in my mind.
Yeah,
at this juncture.
mine too. Same. And I know a lot of
wow, we're agreeing on something.
We do, and I have a lot of friends actually in various political spaces and nonprofit spaces who are also supporting him. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But it could be
and he could become the first Hispanic.
Would he be first Latino mayor? Maybe.
Governor, I think.
I'm sorry, I just said mayor.
Governor.
Because obviously he was the mayor. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, Latino. That'd be. I'd see. To me, that's the legacy there.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Well, I don't know. Maybe we will be endorsing Villaraigosa. We'll see. So
I better learn how to say his name right.
Villaraigosa.
I know. I'm
You can do it.
You should hear, French is just as bad. I'm just not good with other languages.
It's okay. You're Canada adjacent. You can't help it. So we're going to talk about another topic. We're going to talk about our little water mutuals again. Oh my gosh! Now that they're being sued by SCE, when they were already insolvent and trying to pass fees along to all of us shareholder residents to keep afloat. No pun intended. And now here we are.
Yep.
What a mess. What a
Well, the
mess.
Altadena water wars had a very clear solution.
Consolidation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know where they stand. They are whomever's behind that stack is consolidation, which is very interesting. They also shared a video of Anish. For anyone who doesn't know Anish Sarayas, he has been kind of deemed the head of the rebuild by Barger. He's with Public Works, and we've probably heard Anish's name in the past, especially if you're in my group. We talked about Anish a lot in dealing with Public Works on all manner of things, including that UWS trash contract. But Anish is now heading up this rebuild, and it's a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility. I don't envy him that job. But he was speaking to the fact that the water mutuals are incredibly problematic, and that this is a topic that should be on everyone's mind, even if you're not in Altadena, because of the very simple fact that LA County has hundreds of mutuals like this that are tiny little family-owned companies that largely, are not the most fiscally healthy. I think we learned with Las Flores, which is my personal water company for where my residence was located, that they were wildly underinsured. We know a lot of people in the community were underinsured, but why is our water company
Seems
underinsured?
like everybody's underinsured. I mean,
it's true, but like the water company, come on. Not every water company was underinsured, but Las Flores was. So we're talking about this again, and we're talking about Las Flores again because that shareholder meeting that we spoke about a few episodes ago that was supposed to have happened last month at the Altadena Library has been rescheduled and is now happening this Thursday, 2 days from now. So on the 22nd of January, again at the Altadena Library in the evening. And that is their meeting to effectively tell us that we're going to be paying $3,000 per property fee to help float them. And the way that they posited this prior to the SCE filing was that if you paid the $3,000, it could be recoverable if they recovered money from SCE. I think it's safe to say that's not going to be happening. Or you could pay a $50 a month installment plan on that $3,000, but it was non-refundable. But the bottom line is, and that this had nothing to do with infrastructure. This was just to keep them financially solvent because otherwise they're not. And they maintain, their president, John, maintains that they have, quote unquote, no funding options. They're not eligible for any county grants because they're private. They're not eligible for all this money, public money. And, Steve and I have posed the question, and I asked him point blank in person at that last, where we were supposed to have the meeting that didn't happen, but he was there and I was there. Why aren't you looking into other options? Why not CRA money? Why not all of the other private equity, private funding possibilities? Why are you not looking at every possibility if you are financially insolvent? And also, what is the plan for infrastructure development? We did not have sufficient infrastructure. The entire county is 30 years behind on infrastructure upgrades, if not more, all right off the bat for everything. But speaking just to the water mutuals, we didn't have the infrastructure needed for our 44,000, I say that because it's two censuses, but for those residents. We're now going to, through densification that is happening like it or not, going to push up to probably closer to 70,000 residents. So I just asked point blank, what are we doing to plan for that? And the answer was nothing. We have no plan for that. And then when I pressed further, I was told, oh, well, maybe you should talk to the county. It was like what? Like the county has a plan for this? And like the county's responsible for
it's
your...
It's called the CRD.
Yeah, for your private... And funny that we mentioned the CRD, because who is one of the two, quote-unquote, community oversight committee members on that CRD, EIFD, our Climate Resiliency District, to refresh for our listeners? That's what we got with SB 782. Yeah, it's the president of Las Flores Water.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they're going to bail them out.
Correct. So why do you not want to go after the financing that's available? Because you're waiting for other money.
They're going to get the money from the CRD.
Correct. So guys, as always, follow the money. Follow the money. Follow the money. I'm going to be at that meeting on Thursday. I have a laundry list of questions that was submitted by other Las Flores Water shareholders who are members of our beautiful Altadena group who, for various reasons, most especially the fact that they're displaced from the community and don't live nearby, cannot in person be at that meeting as they would like to be. So I've got a big list for them. I'm sure they can't wait to see me and my smiling face again. I'm going to be sure to wear my hat so they know exactly who I am.
You always make everyone happy, Shawna.
Listen, you may not like the messenger, but the message is not wrong. I mean, we have real questions that have to be asked. They're hard questions, and we need to be asking them. Why are we being forced to pay for this? Because even if they get the money through the EIFD, through the CRD, that's us refinancing our recovery again. Not any outside money, not anything else. It's us paying for it through our property tax dollars. And I don't know about anybody else, but this is enough. Just take care of your shit. I can't run a business like this. I couldn't. You can't. Why do we allow these guys to?
Why do they want to stay independent?
Well, if you ask all of the insiders, it's they're all family-owned businesses. So first, let's actually reposition that. To be fair, they don't all want to stay independent. Las Flores and Lincoln are open to consolidation. Rubio Canyon is not, but they seem to be
the healthy one.
Healthier. They're the healthiest of this lot. So they're kind of like, we don't need you, so we don't want you and your problems. But ultimately, they all need to consolidate. There's no other way forward, but and they need to get the right financing. And it's not this.
Like, do these mutual water companies, do the
Yes.
presidents get paid?
Of course they do.
How much?
I don't know. It's a great question. Let's go find out. Are you listening, Altadena Water Wars? Can you please write about how much these folks are getting paid and who's making what? Where's this money going?
That's what I don't get. Is like, usually somebody does this because there's self-interest. Like, what's the self-interest here? If you're doing this as a volunteer 501c3, like, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's check that.
So while Steve is looking into that, I'm going to remind people, the other thing that's interesting about this is that, these water mutuals, while being small family run companies, they are mutuals that are shareholder owned and driven. And what that means is that everybody who owns a property in Altadena and is part of this water district or their respective water mutual district owns shares. They are shareholders. Shareholders can compel board meetings and they can initiate votes on topics, and that is no different here. So in our water company at Las Flores, again, this is mine, it takes 300, it requires 300 residents to compel a vote and a shareholder meeting. And I think I know where I'm going to be putting some of my energy in the next month. And it's going to be into organizing that 300 in my tract because we need a say. This is one of the very few places where we actually do have the ability to exercise our voice in a very clear way.
So Las Flores Water Company, gross receipts was 2.1 million. Yeah, it's all on there. They have a 990.
Great. So who got paid what?
Total revenue, 1.8 million.
That's
Salaries, 389,000. They lost 800, but that's not a real number.
This reads like one of my businesses. This is
I mean,
my point being,
nothing.
it's not a lot of money.
They get nothing.
I don't believe that. Do you believe that everybody's working for free?
No, but I mean, there's nobody making over $100,000.
Wow.
The
Including their president?
The president it's volunteer. He gets nothing. Because a couple board members, 3 of them get $900 a year.
Okay, we clearly need to look into this more because who in LA County can afford to work in a volunteer role for that money?
It's like a nonprofit board. So what's going on here?
Mm-hmm. Where's money?
Well, it doesn't talk about contracts and things like that.
Right, exactly. There's always other sources. But and also we know that they are underfunded and they don't have a lot of money. I think there's probably more money to be found, and I don't think people are living on this pittance. But also, it sounds like there's not that much more, and that is part of the problem.
I'm looking at their balance sheet. I mean, they run pretty tight. There's no liabilities. Not really. There's no bonds. There's no...
Or at least there weren't until you get sued by SCE.
I mean, this is pretty clean.
Well, the plot thickens.
So the question is why?
It is indeed. Well, we'll be back to share next week a follow-up on this after this meeting. So we'll see how this meeting goes on Thursday. And, the expectation is that they are going to themselves pass this fee and pass along this fee. And then we'll see how the community responds, because I think it's going to be time for us to exercise some of our power and organize as shareholders and compel our own vote.
So Rubio Canyon has a lot more assets.
Mm-hmm. What's in there?
Almost 20 million.
Oh, my goodness. No wonder they don't want to mess with these guys.
No, because they're going to give up all their assets.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a little bit more money here.
Steve has gone down the rabbit hole. I wish everyone could see Steve right now. It's very serious.
No, I mean, look, this is like, yeah, it's...
I can see another Substack being written right now.
Well, I mean, they've got $23 million in land. I think they have a lot more land, but they don't have, again, they have no debt too. So they've got assets that they can sell off. Let's see what Lincoln is.
And assets that can be snatched up.
Well, that's why they don't want this. They don't want to have to.
Well, I think, something has got to give.
Lincoln Avenue. Lincoln also has $24 million.
Oh, wow.
Assets.
So Lincoln is in the best.
Las
Flores is the
mess.
sad out.
Yeah.
And why? Why are they such a mess? This is what I want to know.
It's something to do with the land. Yeah, they are the sick sister. So why would they be on the board?
Right?
I mean, these guys, I'd love to be on one of these boards. 16,000,
Well,
9,000.
I hear that is that what they're paying their board members?
Yeah.
I hear that they were looking for a new board member. Maybe you should throw your hat in the ring.
They wouldn't want me.
Why not? You never know. Never say never.
Yeah, there's some serious. They got cash. They've got $19 million. They can leverage a little bit. They've got a couple extra, liabilities here. But yeah, they've got space. So no wonder there's your answer. You got two of them that have $40 million in assets between the two of them.
And one who has barely two.
Mm-hmm. That's what it is. Nobody wants them. So anyway, it's all on it's all
public information.
It is. Fascinating.
So it'll be fascinating to see what happens at this meeting Thursday, and we'll be back to talk about it.
Sorry.
Yep. No, don't be sorry. I'm glad you looked it up. We didn't have to wait. So our last topic today that I wanted to touch on. So for anyone who doesn't, I'm sure most people who say the name Sylvie Andrews won't necessarily know who I'm talking about, but Sylvie was my neighbor on East Poppy Fields. She has been incredibly active in the fire recovery space, with myself and others since the fire. She's one of the Altogether block captains. She's part of the Earthseed CLT. Anyhow, she's really kind of put herself out there to try and figure out how to bring the town back. She's a lifelong resident, multi-generational resident herself. And Sylvie is also part of the Altadena for Accountability Coalition that I am a member of, where we have been trying to, compel a real meaningful investigation with subpoena power from our Attorney General into what happened and how this could have happened, right? Because we know there was just so many failures. So how? And the reason why we want to know how isn't for heads to roll or for political blood to be shed. It's about, frankly, fixing these problems so they don't continue to happen. Because not only is it going to happen here again when we have another disaster, which most likely will be a major earthquake, but what's going to happen when the next town burns? Because that's coming too, and we all know that. So that is the point. So in part of that, Sylvie has also been working in the area of data science, and she has taken, a tremendous undertaking of effectively doing, as a fire survivor, she's also total loss, but she is effectively doing the work of an investigation that no one is doing. And she put together a fantastic report, and I'm going to link to it in the show notes on Buzzsprout. So if anyone's looking for this, and actually it should carry over to anywhere you listen to the podcast, it should be in the show notes listed for this episode. She put together an analysis and her own little investigation into the evacuation warning timing, the genesis background and timing, and what kind of happened and went wrong here. And not surprisingly, it directly contradicts what is posted and shared in the reports to date, including the McChrystal report. So, and this underscores, why people are asking for a real investigation, because we very clearly have not had one. And, when you get into this, and she did this based on information that she has effectively crowdsourced across everywhere it was shared, including the tremendous amount of to-the-minute accounts and posts with photos and video evidence of when smoke and ash arrived, when first responders were witnessed or never at all, when homes actually burned, and fire first entered certain neighborhoods, when alerts were received, et cetera, through all of these stories that were shared firsthand. And again, it is community-focused, community-centric data that has not in any way been included in the other reports and investigations done to date. So, she did the work that should be done for us, and that alone, the fact that she had to, is appalling. But she did it. It's phenomenal. And I hope that everyone has an opportunity to kind of dig through it and go through it, because it's so insightful, and it really speaks to some of the many failures here, and some of the many places where we're still waiting for answers, and some of the many places where these reports contradict themselves, are inaccurate, and where the people involved have contradicted themselves and their own data points, including our favorite fire chief, Maroney.
Your favorite.
Everybody's favorite, because he did such a fine job while collecting his $800,000 a year package, right? So it's take some time to check that out. It'll be again link posted in the show notes here, so everybody can kind of go through that. And as we're speaking of oversights, I was just hearing because I was reading shared an email was shared with me that Daniel Harlow had sent to the town council. It sounds that he was asked to step down from the land use committee. And I'm not going to go into that in too much depth, but I'm just going to say if you do not know Daniel Harlow, who is a longtime Altadena resident, and he's one of my fellow admins of the beautiful Altadena group, and he's also an admin of multiple community groups and has sat on multiple community groups and orgs and done so much work in the community. He's one of those people, again, who's kind of behind the scenes, tirelessly working to the benefit of our town without anybody knowing who he is. I've joked in the past and called him our Wizard of Oz because no one realizes the extent to which he's behind the scenes working so hard and diligently on so many things. So he's been on that land use committee for at least 13 years, including spending years on the committee that developed our CSD that is not being utilized, even though we were promised it would be in the rebuild, but it is not. It's been completely overrun by the county. And long story short, I was just really disappointed to hear that he was out there. And I don't know the full story of how or why he's out, other than knowing, he did not plan to leave. And I hope that that oversight is reconciled sooner than later, because he is such a tremendous asset. If you're listening to this, I bet you're thinking, and you are in Altadena, you probably have run into him at some point, because I hear repeatedly and regularly, even now post-fire, that Daniel remains the only person who has ever had a clue about what's going on and who helps when people need help.
Yes, he's always been a big supporter.
Yeah. Well, he's a big supporter of everyone's, of the towns, and he's very agnostic, which I appreciate about him, Yeah,
he and I have had conversations.
Yeah, I have no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
I think he is with many people.
But you need people like that.
I agree.
And losing resources like that
is never good.
No.
It's never good. So, a thank you to Daniel for all of his service, and a note to whomever made the decision to change up the land use committee that this is a significant loss, and unless you have a better spot to put him to be of service for the town, I think it was a tremendous oversight.
Or maybe not.
Or, yeah, maybe not an accident, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to go there, but yeah. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode and see if we can actually keep this one a little tighter. I don't know that we did, but my own magical thinking would like me to think that we did. We're going to wrap it with our small business shout out. I'm going to talk about some of the businesses on Washington that are
Altadena.
That are Altadena adjacent, like our Lincoln businesses, who we accept as our own because the majority of their customers are us. It's Altadena.
I'm teasing.
And also many, there's Altadena ownership there, right? These are businesses owned. I know. I'm going to tease you back. So those businesses, if you're in that little that square. There's Octavia's Bookshelf, which of course is our Black-centric, Black-owned, Black female-owned bookshop, which is fantastic. If you haven't been in there, get your booty in there and find something great. Adjacent that is Lavender and Honey Coffee. That is Altadena owned. That's Melanie and her husband. But Melanie started that coffee shop years ago, and I'm sure I've mentioned before, it was one of my people who I knew via Artisanal LA when I was doing my incubator craft food thing, and she has always been awesome, and they've recently had some expansion into new locations, but this is still their first and their flagship, and they're another Altadena family who were heavily impacted by the fire and their business as well, so I love to always give them a shout out to be supported, and they've done a lot in turn to support the community. And then you also have Woon, who's across the street, and Woon is a fantastic restaurant. And, they talked a lot, like they opened a huge fanfare and it was like, oh my gosh, they're going to be packed. And then like immediately after their opening, the town burned and it was like, oh my gosh, are they going to survive? So hopefully, I
think they've been pretty good.
Yep. I think they're doing pretty good, but it's a fantastic spot with excellent food. If you haven't been, go check it out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been.
Shall we, you like it?
Yeah, it's good.
What do you like?
Food.
I was putting you on the spot. Like, are there favorite dishes?
Whatever my wife brings home.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Now I want Woon for dinner.
Well,
I might
there you
have
go.
Woon tonight.
Mine usually has gluten in it, so
Well, mine obviously will not, but
I
you know.
that was my joke.
Yes, haha.
All right, so
I know I can never eat the good shit, but
we're wrapping this thing up.
we're going to wrap this thing up. You want to bring it in?
Yeah. So with that, thank you very much, Shawna. Thank you to all our listeners. I'm Steve for the Alta Policy Wonk.
And I'm Shawna Dawson Beer. I am beautiful Altadena.
And you know where to find us.
We'll see you next time.
Bye now.